Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our May 25th Board of County Commission meeting. We're going to begin this morning's meeting with an invocation by Chaplain Elsie Campbell of the Nettles Island Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Michael Northcott, the Air Force veteran and Veteran Service Officer. Please stand.
Good morning. Join me as we pray together. Our gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we come to you today acknowledging you, first of all. And the group of folks who choose not to acknowledge you, Father, would be a most difficult group of folks to anticipate anything good coming from. You've said in your word that a house divided against itself cannot stand. I think we could improve that, and we could expand that to say not only a house divided, but a Senate divided against itself. And even a Board of County Commissioners divided cannot stand. So Lord, today I pray that with the divergent opinions that each of us have, that there still can be a sense of coming together. I thank you that we have the privilege of living in a state where we are seeing freedoms abound. And in comparison to many other places in our nation, we are blessed beyond measure. We are blessed because we live in a county where county government is for the people, by the people. And we are grateful that in this room we have opportunity to express our desires, our feelings, our understandings, our convictions. And Father, I pray for each one of these county commissioners. You know them far better than I do. And yet I've grown to love each one of them through these years that we have lived together and served together. And I pray you would bless them richly today. I pray you would give them insight even beyond their present understanding about some of the issues that may come before them. Thank you for a county administrator who seeks to provide leadership and yet not an iron fist. I thank you for a legal department that is well versed and seeks to bring wisdom to play as issues are brought before this body. Father, I thank you for the staff. They're the real workhorses. Sometimes they don't get a lot of credit, and sometimes they get a lot of criticism. I just pray today that in the midst of a pandemic of division, which is far more potentially deadly than COVID, that you would continue to allow harmony in the midst of diversity to rule and to reign in our hearts individually and in our relationships and in the things that are accomplished here today. For I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on our agenda this morning, we have one additional item, departmental number 3, to discuss the latest request from the Village of Indiantown for additional American Recovery Plan Act funding. There's no consent polls, and that comes back to the board for a motion.
Move approval of the consent agenda and the agenda. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the agenda and the consent agenda, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have a couple proclamations this morning. We will start with proclamation number 1. We have a Memorial Day proclamation, and Laura Dupre is going to present that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Since our nation's earliest days, America has been blessed with an unbroken chain of patriots who have served our country with honor and distinction. On Memorial Day, May 31st, the Board urges residents to remember those who served and sacrificed to be sure this nation remains the bastion of freedom we have all been privileged to enjoy. And here from the Veterans Council of Martin County, I have Ray Giasulo.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Feels like it, right?
First of all, I want to say one thing. With all these beautiful nurses and maybe men, we don't deserve to be here first. If it wasn't for you guys, none of us would probably be here. So sorry we're out of order. I don't know which way to look, guys. I never did this before. Look center. Okay. I'm supposed to speak?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Say whatever you want. Sing a song.
You're doing a good job so far.
Believe me, we have lots of thank yous in Martin County, and there is these two gentlemen behind us. I have to thank you for, all of yous. Unfortunately, I guess I could start off by saying all the county here gives money to help veterans in need. And I do have, this is my biggest problem as a chairman. We give away to 0.5 people per month to help them. What that means is somebody can't pay their rent. Someone can't, their car breaks down. They can't pay anything it is, medical. If you know a veteran in Martin County, send them into the offices right here on the first floor. These gentlemen will help them that you wouldn't believe. They get vetted, we make sure that they're vets, we make sure what their problems are, and they pay the bills directly. And this is conjunction with Martin County, with our fundraising, and also from another group, the VSO Fund, which helps us out greatly. So with that, I'm just saying thank you all for your support. I'd love to see you at Monday's parade. We have plenty of room for all of yous. Martin County, Jay's given us one of his big trams to use, and I'm going to pack it with hopefully World War II, Vietnam, and Korea vets at the end of the parade. Thank you.
Oh, you'll see it in the photo.
Not for veterans. Seems disrespectful.
Get in that
Hi, guys. Nice suit.
Thank you all.
Thanks. I hear you take the baby to the gaffer. They're out and about, teaching her young. My
He's
people.
everywhere with us.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, our second proclamation this morning is Nurses Appreciation Month.
From the vital care they provide to the experience and expertise they offer in life or death circumstances, nurses are invaluable to the healthcare industry. During the pandemic, nurses with Cleveland Clinic Martin Health and the Visiting Nurse Association of Florida, among other local professionals, braved uncertainty, risked personal well-being, and isolated themselves from family members. In recognition of Nurses Appreciation Month, the board would like to recognize these remarkable individuals for all they do to care for our community. And here to accept, along with a lot of other folks, we have Jennifer Crow, who is the CEO of the Visiting Nurse Association of Florida.
Thank you. I have Susan Clark here with me. She's the CNO of Cleveland Clinic, accepting it with me as well. So first, I would like to thank all of you commissioners for giving us this opportunity to recognize the wonderful nurses that have been here in our community through, some pretty challenging times. So thank you for this dedication and proclamation. And we celebrate, and we have for a long time, Nurses Week and Nurses Month. So to make it a county level situation, we really appreciate that. And then to the nurses, this is a handful of nurses, mostly ones that work to support the nurses at the bedside, because it's very hard to pull them away from the bedside at any given time. But thank you so much for what you've done. It was very cute what the veteran representative said, because we care for our veterans a lot, and it just goes to show how the impact that they have on the community and on the people here. And what a year! And you guys prevailed and were compassionate, and I thank you so much.
Stacy.
A lot of people. Maybe we should go in the well. Let's go in the well. Yeah.
Well.
Because that's a lot of people. That is. We'll go this way too.
Tall in the back, not as tall in the front.
Would y'all come down so we can see you?
Do this.
Or you can stand up. Yeah, why don't you stand up?
Y'all gotta be able to see the camera.
Alright, we're gonna take a few. Go like. Smiling.
We don't know who that is.
Thank you all so much.
Got a little pain right up here on my shoulder, a little something. Take the rest of the day off.
Yeah, uh-huh. It's so nice to be in a room where you're watching and not on the receiving end.
That's right. Okay, our third proclamation for National Safe Boating Week, we need a motion to adopt this proclamation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we can proceed with presenting the proclamation.
On average, 650 people die annually in boating-related accidents in the United States, in which 85% of the victims are not wearing a life jacket. Every year, the board recognizes Safe Boating Week, recognized this year from May 22nd to the 28th, and commends the volunteers of Flotilla 59 for their year-round efforts to promote safe boating. And here to accept, we have from the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary Flotilla 59, Don Mueller and Kevin Gilbert.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Don Mueller, Commander of Flotilla 59. This is my vice, Kevin Gilbert. And I'm just going to throw some stats at you. Thank you for the roll in there. But in case you didn't know, Florida leads the nation in registered boats, up nearly 24,000.
Pull the microphone
last
just a
year.
little bit.
There we go. Sorry, yeah, we lead the nation in boats, okay? Nearly 24,000 just in the past year. The 79 fatalities in Florida in 2020 were mostly due to collisions, up 16%. 836 reportable boating accidents were up 26% from the year before. So while boat sales and the number of boaters are climbing, education is lacking. 69% of the operators in fatal boating accidents had no formal boater education. So the 2020 boating report came back and said that we need for more boaters to become much better trained in safe boating methods. Out of the 365 boating accidents reported, 44% involved operators of age 36 and older. They told investigators they had had no formal safe boating education. Leading cause of death in fatal boating accidents was drowning, 53%, and 86% of those were wearing no personal flotation device. So as we go through this Safe Boating Week, we let everybody know if you are buying, driving, or setting foot in a boat, please, please, please get boater education and wear your PFD. And that's what this week is all about. And thank you for supporting us in that effort. We appreciate it.
Porcelain? Plastic.
Tupperware.
Yeah.
That's before your time.
Yeah.
Or the old don't give it away.
Yeah. Needs some ink on it. Okay, that completes our proclamations this morning, and we're going to move on to public comment. I have 2 speaker forms, and each commenter is given 3 minutes. You'll hear a warning tone just before your 3 minutes is up. And our first speaker this morning is Bob Zacchio.
Hi, thank you, County Commissioners. I really appreciate getting the opportunity to speak to y'all. Number one, just want to give you a quick update on some of the progress that Project Lift has been making in the world of mental health and employability, job readiness. Also, I just think it fitting, obviously, for the month of May being Mental Health Awareness Month. And so there's so many great organizations out there doing so much great work, like Tyson Teens and Suncoast and Catholic Charities and so many other organizations that are doing great work out there. So I just want to point that out. Also, at the same time, I'm doing some research through Job Bio and some of the other websites that have to do with what's going on in the workforce and mental health in the workforce. And what we're seeing is about 78% of employees right now are suffering from mental health issues, and we see employability and job readiness pieces being affected simply because of those things. Project Lift has increased, obviously our mainstay is mental health, social emotional wellness as it relates to the workforce. And our goal is to see mental health and substance abuse treatment, obviously social emotional wellness through industry across the country. And we think that that's a move that's really strong. What we're doing though is we're starting with our 14 and 19-year-olds and really getting in there early and seeing that we can affect change through industry on the long term. So we've increased our services by 41% since March of 2020. And to boot, we're now working in the space of really bolstering our summer programs, where we're now partnered with TCBA, the Treasure Coast Builders Association, and the school board to offer our Ready to Work Skilled Trades Boot Camp. So we'll have, that starts on June 7th and goes to the 11th. It's 1 week long. And then we have another camp that starts on June 21st, which is a partnership with FPL and NextEra Energy. This starts June 21st and then goes through July. We're talking about trades like carpentry, HVAC, welding, plumbing, tile installation, small equipment, automotive repair, screen printing, masonry, screening, drywall, windows, electrical, roofing, painting, and garage doors. I know I'm trying to go fast through it because I'm sure that Commissioner Campy's got me on a timer. So now what we want to do, though, is connect all those dots with industry leaders, right? So CSCI, Sunscreens, Apex, Porch Factory, Elite Air, American Stairs, RDI Kitchens, Nice Air, Garage Door Expert, East Coast Slumber. We have 25 different businesses who are attending those boot camps during the summer. We do have room for 40 teens, rising 17-year-olds, 18, 19, 20-year-olds into that first round of camp. And then in the second round of camp, we have room for 25 kids. We are now full and taking applications, continuing applications. We actually got 7 new applications just yesterday for the June 7th camp. So just giving you some awareness, and thank you guys very much for all that you do, and thank you always for supporting Project Lift's mental health and employability programs. I used every second of it.
You did.
You guys.
Good job. Thanks, Bob. Our next public speaker this morning is Kevin Banyura. Did I pronounce that?
Oh, thumbs up.
It was the hyphenation. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Chair Hetherington, Commissioner Vice Chair Smith, respected members of the Board of Commissioners, County Administrator Krista, Chaplain, and Attorney Woods. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I am the founder of Buddy Bear Weekend, but that's not why I'm here. A lot of people here know Buddy Bear Weekend. I'm here because I am the event coordinator for Once Upon a Child. And I'm here today to briefly go over a special event on June 5th, 2021 right here in Martin County at Once Upon a Child, located at 1101 Northwest 21st Street, Stuart, Florida. I am hoping that all of the respective Martin County Board of Commissioners will consider attending the event. Here's why. Once Upon a Child is the only children's resale retail store in the Treasure Coast. Once Upon a Child recently moved from a 7,000 square foot rental into their new location, a 13,000 square foot building in which they own. It is powered by over 340 solar panels. June 5th also is World Environment Day and National Family Recreation Day. Our event is to honor the fact that Once Upon a Child in Stuart is doing everything to make sure the environment is safe and clean. Their location is 100% sustainable with solar power rather than electric power. Also, National Family Recreation Day is very important because our event is telling the entire Treasure Coast that it's time to step outside their home, enjoy a nice family day of fun, and start living life again. We have put together an impressive list of participants, all of which do business and charity work in the Treasure Coast. Collectively, our partners for this event are letting the Treasure Coast and Martin County families know that it's okay to start having a good, clean fun and enjoy themselves. Our participants are many. They include Chuck E. Cheese, National Oceanographic Society, Children's Museum, Play It Again Sports, Boundless Gymnasium, the Martin County Library System, Pool Mart of Stuart, Elvis Music School, Art and Around, Mid-Florida Credit Union of Stuart, United for Math, H2O Ocean First Aid First, Fishtail Swimming Academy, Kona Ice of Treasure Coast, Martin County Parks and Recreation, Philly Down South Cafe, Sweet Cakes of Stuart, Blaze Pizza, author John Baylog and his book Mimi's Mermaids, and the Masonic Lodge with their free child ID program. Way Too Tall Tory to Stiltwalker, Martin County Sheriff's Department, Martin County Fire Rescue, and Smokey Bear.
Thank you.
And believe it or not,
Sir,
Smokey Bear
your
being
time's
there.
up. Your time's up. I'm sorry.
It's been a year since Smokey Bear's been around.
Thank you.
So we hope that you would
Thank you,
consider
sir.
going to our event.
Thank,
Thank you so much for your time.
thank you for being here.
Squeezed it in.
Okay, that completes my public comment forms this morning. I'm going to move on to commissioner comments. Oh, Commissioner Jenkins.
Good, thank you.
Okay,
All set.
right. Commissioner Camping,
All set.
Commissioner Hearn.
Yeah. The Army Corps of Engineers, in combination with the South Florida Water Management District, are finalizing their plans for managing Lake Okeechobee. This plan will be released within the next 2 months, and it will last for probably a decade. We in Martin County have been negatively impacted enormously by discharges from Lake Okeechobee, and it's imperative that from Lake Okeechobee into the estuaries. The obvious answer is 0 discharges are safe for all those downstream recipients. Those discharges also killed manatees, killed seagrasses. Manatees now are dying at record rates of starvation because of the discharges into the estuaries. The Corps is trying to balance harm and benefit for the stakeholders. Seems fairly straightforward. However, the St. Lucie Estuary and the Indian River Lagoon are the only stakeholder receiving no benefit from those discharges. We are only receiving harm. Therefore, if we are not receiving any benefit, we cannot receive any harm. Please contact the Army Corps of Engineers and tell them they need to do a better job of managing discharges from Lake Okeechobee. They need to build more stormwater treatment areas south of the lake and send more water south. The overarching message is no benefits, no harms. Please send your comments to lakeocomments@usace.army.mil. That's lakeocomments@usace.army.mil. on a lighter note, I toured the improved Stewart Beach last week. It's still undergoing renovations, but it's spectacular. The Ipe boardwalks are just wonderful. They meander through the sea grapes. There are new parking spaces, new paving, and the Seaside Cafe is just wonderful. Hopefully, when we can get over this labor shortage quickly, and we'll be able to open the Seaside Cafe. That's the only thing keeping us from opening the Seaside Cafe right now, is we just can't. We're not able to staff it. It's wonderful, a wonderful addition. Thank you, Martin County taxpayers, for making it possible. It's gonna be terrific. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And commissioners, I have left on each one of your chairs we had our Indian River Lagoon Council meeting last Friday, and brought home with us the annual report from 2020. There's so many amazing projects and things that we're doing at the Indian River Lagoon Council. I wanted to just bring that back and share with you. For the public, it is available on the Indian River Lagoon Council website, so you can check it out there. But just wanted each of you to have that and be able to stay in tune to what we're doing.
Can you hold for a second?
Yes.
Nice job getting the House of Refuge and on the inside cover. So, first picture you come to is Martin County. Nice
Great.
job, Stacy.
Yes, indeed. And our staff, Indian River Lagoon Council, is really proud of the septic to sewer program that we put together here in Martin County, and we'll be reaching out to staff to present to the board in August. So we look forward to that too, as a leader in some of our policies. A couple other small things. 2 items. So I attended the City of Stewart meeting last night. Some of us were up till 2 a.m. Watching it. And a couple of the residents, while I was there in person, grabbed, and there were some misnomers. I just wanted to clarify, and maybe have Ms. Woods explain. So a couple of the residents were asking, Martin County, our Martin County charter, they thought, permits the City of Stewart to annex property. So can you explain what the annexation process is, so it clarifies that for the public?
Sure. Of course, we are not a charter county. There is no Martin County charter. That is a misstatement and factually inaccurate. We operate as a home rule county under the auspices of Chapter 125 in the Florida statutes. And that Chapter 125 sets forth all of the rights and abilities of the county. At the same time, Chapter 171 is a statutory chapter in Florida law, and that sets forth, the first section, in fact, sets forth municipal expansion. And so there are statutory provisions which allow municipalities to expand their borders. It sets forth a whole system of public hearings and parameters that have to be met. I've checked, I haven't been able to verify, but my sense is that for the hearing that was last night, that property, which was originally in an unincorporated Martin County, was probably annexed into the city under a voluntary annexation. I'm virtually certain it was. And again, that goes back to the right of the property owner petitioning the city when they meet certain statutory parameters and holding public hearings, a number of public hearings, in order to expand its boundaries. So the county has not anything to do with it, and the county does not have the ability to stop that process. For those of us who have lived here a long time know that that happened in the 90s when the City of Stewart had expanded their boundaries to the north, into north of the Roosevelt Bridge. And again, the courts, as I recall, made it abundantly clear that if they follow the statutory provisions, if they follow Chapter 171, that's a process that the legislature gives to our cities, municipalities, to expand their boundaries. So just hopefully that helps.
Thank
That
you for
it is
that.
not a county commission role in this process, and it's governed by Florida law.
Thank you. And I think it's important to clarify for that, for the residents. And one more item on that, being that this is, the proposed project that was approved for first reading last night in the city of Stuart is in my district. We've got a group of constituents that are increasingly concerned with safety at South River. This board has discussed it and prioritized the traffic light. The MPO has prioritized having a traffic light for safety. The DOT has been included. They've done traffic analysis. Being that, from what I heard last night, this, if approved, this project would put additional 7,000 plus trips on that road. I'm asking my colleagues if we could send a letter to DOT Secretary Jerry O'Reilly, pointing out that there are some significant changes, potentially occurring in the near future on that corridor, and that we continue to have safety concerns, and we really want to expedite the light in front of South River. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things to that point. One, absolutely. I think we touched on that a little bit at the MPO meeting the other day, just to make sure that those priorities stay on the top of our list here locally, even though FDOT doesn't recognize the warrants for it. We're still continuing to keep that higher on the list so that should these traffic counts increase enough to justify or push that even further, that'll happen. So by all means, I support sending another letter. Additionally, and I thought where you were going to go, and maybe you are going to go there, but I'll throw it in anyway. I believe at the MPO also months and months ago, maybe even at our joint meeting we had with the city, we talked about the alignment of their other apartment complex that's going on the northeast side of the Veterans Memorial Bridge. That'll be somewhat across the street from the location of Costco. And we discussed them trying to align the exit of that development so that it would align with Costco, so that maybe we could get a light there, so that all of the traffic heading, I guess, west or south on 76 wouldn't have to go down to Indian Street to make a U-turn to come around. So I still think that ought to be part of the conversation. I don't know where they are in their site planning issues with Costco and or with the apartment complex there on the corner.
That's way south.
Bridge,
of where Costco
are you talking
is.
about Bridgeview?
Yeah, that's
Bridgeview.
Yeah, but if you were to line that up to the neighboring mobile home park and bring that across, you could probably align it with Costco. Anyway, for whatever that's worth. So I just think that intersection, that section of Canner, including yours, is going to be an incredibly enormous challenge for a lot of us. So I would move that we draft such a letter for the chair to sign to send to the district secretary.
Thank you.
Second.
Great. I appreciate that. I think it's important that we keep this, at the forefront of the DOT's mind. So we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And that completes my comments for today. Ms. Krista? Ms. Woods? Okay. All right, we're going to begin this morning with public hearing number 1, public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending the land development regulations regarding flood protection and the general ordinances regarding building and housing regulations related to flood protection.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lisa Witzer. I'm the county engineer. I'm also the floodplain administrator for the county. And I have with me Michelle Cullum, who is our development review administrator. So we're going to present the item. This is a continued item from April 13th. And it essentially is the same presentation, but we did include a few additional emphasis areas because there was some questions at the end of the presentation the last time you heard it.
I'm going to start with a little bit of a background and then let Lisa explain the details. The National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, is administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also called as FEMA. Can you hear me? A little better? Okay, sorry. The general purpose of the NFIP is to offer primary flood insurance to properties within a significant flood risk and to reduce flood risks through the adoption of flood management standards. FEMA can reduce the costs and adverse consequences of flooding to property owners. Martin County participates in the NFIP's Community Rating System, which is the CRS, which is a voluntary program that recognizes and encourages communities to adopt and implement flood protection activities that exceed the requirements of the NFIP. Each participating community is reviewed every year by the Florida Department of Emergency Management to recertify that it's still participating in implementing the activities that are used to determine the class rating. Every 5th year, FEMA performs a more thorough review to determine the class rating. Martin County has a class rating of 6, which means policyholders in Martin County receive discounts up to 20% within a special flood hazard area, and properties receive a 10% discount outside the special flood hazard area. Right now, Martin County is within the 5th year review. Flood insurance rate maps are prepared by FEMA and are based on flood insurance studies. The last flood insurance study and the rate maps were adopted by the board in February 19, 2020. Prior to that, the maps were adopted in 2015. These firms are used by Martin County to set minimum building requirements that are used by lenders to determine flood insurance requirements. Just want to point out that everybody is in a special flood hazard, everybody is in a flood zone. The difference is that some are special flood hazard areas that are high risk, and the others are not special flood hazard areas that are moderate to low risk. Special flood hazard areas that are high risk have a 1 in 4 chance of flooding during a 30-year mortgage. These areas are shown with zones beginning with the letter A or a V. Flood insurance study included an analysis to determine that the base flood elevation for each of these zones. And then structures that are within the special flood hazard area are required to be insured from flooding if the structure's mortgage is federally regulated or required by the insurance lenders. Areas outside special flood hazard areas are moderate to low risk, and although the risk of flooding is reduced, it's not eliminated. So these areas are shown with beginning with the letter B, C, X, or shaded X. So Martin County's current regulations and codes for properties within a special flood hazard area have been in place for the past 6 years. We adopted them March 16th, 2015. These regulations require that the finished floor for structures within the special flood hazard areas is set 1 foot above the base flood elevation. It limits the value of improvements for those structures to 50% of the current structure's value within the past 5 years, which prohibits substantial improvements without retrofitting. It requires that a floodplain approval for structures in a special flood hazard area not subject to the Florida Building Code, and addresses construction techniques for coastal high-risk areas, which are the V-zones that extend from offshore to the primary frontal dune. For existing structures that do not meet the regulations, there are retrofitting opportunities, which include elevating the structure, relocating the structure, demolishing the structure, or flood-proofing the structure. Wet flood proofing provides the opportunity to make an uninhabitable area resistant when the water enters the structure and includes flood openings and garages. Dry proofing provides the opportunity to seal the exterior of the structure to protect it from flooding.
So what we're asking today is to look at some proposed amendments to Article 4. The reason that we're asking is that FEMA is requiring certain modifications to our local permits in order for us to maintain our status on the community rating system. So in general, we are clarifying the language that's been in place since 2015. Over the last 6 years, we found some of it is a little confusing, so we're just trying to clarify what that is. There's some processes that are in the code that distinguish between development order review. So if somebody comes in for an application with a development order, it does get reviewed for floodplain protection against this division. Also permits like building permits and excavation and fill permits also get reviewed, and as well as the floodplain approvals that have been in place. The ordinance also establishes a flood protection review committee to consider and grant variances. That committee would be composed of the growth management director, the public works director, and the building official. And finally, as far as just the general, the amendment also takes Article 10 appeals procedures and incorporates that into the appeal process for flood protection. One of the other changes, or specifically, is we're requiring that construction techniques that are used in the coastal high-risk area, or the V-zone, so that's area between the dune and offshore, that same construction technique to be applied to the coastal A-zone, which is from the dune to the limit of moderate wave action, and that is about where the waves are 1.5 feet or higher. So it just extends it a little further inshore or further inland, and requires that those techniques be used there as well. This amendment also allows for accessory structures below the base flood elevation. Currently, you have to be a foot above the base flood elevation if you have an accessory structure. So this amendment is allowing for the smaller accessory structures that are used only for storage and parking to be set below the base flood elevation as long as they are flood proofed. And they have to be anchored, and they have to be flood damage resistant materials, and the electrical systems have to be still above the foot above the base flood. The amendment is also authorizing variances for agricultural structures. So agricultural structures that do not require a building permit are still required to get a floodplain approval. And what this is authorizing is that those buildings do not need to be a foot above the base flood elevation if they are, an agricultural structure is a walled and roofed structure, so it's not a pole barn, as long as it's being used for agricultural use and it is wet proof. So it would have to allow the water to come in and out. And then finally, and most importantly, as far as FEMA is concerned, this amendment is requiring the bottoms of all manufactured homes, new manufactured homes, and substantially improved manufactured homes. The bottom frame of that now needs to be at the foot above the base flood elevation. Previously, it was 36 inches above the existing ground, which could or could not be above the base flood elevation. So this is just making it consistent with the other rules and regulations. Chapter 21 is the Code of Ordinances, Building and Housing Regulations. This is removing the redundancies with the latest building code. Since we amended this code in 2015, the building code has been amended. So our revisions to this building code are local revisions. And so the local revisions that we made have now become Florida revisions. So we're taking that redundancy out, and we're adding in the requirement for the construction techniques that are used in the coastal high-risk areas to be applied to the coastal A zone. So some of the issues, the ordinance was drafted by the Department of Emergency Management on FEMA's behalf. We worked very closely with representatives from the DEM to ensure that we were compliant with FEMA's requirements. Of the communities in Florida, 90% of the CRS communities have already adopted this ordinance. Those that haven't have determined that their requirements for the manufactured homes has already been incorporated into their ordinance, so they don't need to adopt it again. And FEMA is requiring us to maintain a Class 6 rating, and if we don't adopt it, we would drop to a Class 8 rating. And as you can see, that would increase or reduce the discount on flood insurance premiums from 20% to 10%. And there are over 16,000 property owners with policies in Martin County that would pay a higher premium as a result of not adopting the regulation. So with that, staff's recommendation is to adopt the ordinance as presented. And I'll answer any questions.
Back to the board. Commissioner Smith.
Thanks. Something, when we talked about this, it didn't come to mind, or I didn't think about. So what about the incorporated areas of Martin County?
The incorporated areas...
Of Martin County?
Yes.
No, incorporated versus we are unincorporated, but...
So our regulations apply only to unincorporated. Some of the communities or municipalities within Martin County are participants in the community rating system, and others are not.
Okay. I just want to make sure for anybody listening that, because we have a fair amount of manufactured homes in incorporated, or Yeah, unincorporated. And that our ordinances don't overarch over the incorporated cities. Okay, thanks.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a light on Ms. Story.
Yes, Krista Story, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Is the effective date contained in, have you already indicated that? I'm sorry if I missed it, July 1st, that if we could make sure that's in the ordinance. Okay, thanks.
Okay, seeing as this is a public hearing, we do have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Hurd, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Our next item is public hearing, quasi judicial number 1, Bruner Parks LLC rezoning, and presented by Matt Staley. This is a quasi judicial item. We'll take ex parte communication. Commissioner Jenkins?
If I have any, they've been filed.
Commissioner,
If I have any, they're filed.
Commissioner Camping?
If I have any, they've been filed.
Commissioner Hurd?
I don't have any.
If any might have been filed, does the applicant have return receipts?
They were provided at the LPA.
Okay. Are any interveners? Okay. Layla, go ahead and please swear in the witnesses.
Raise your right hands, please. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Matt, go ahead and take it away and introduce the item.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Matt Staley, Senior Planner with Growth Management. A full copy of the agenda item and my work history has been provided. This is a request by Bruner Parks LLC for a proposed amendment to the county zoning atlas for industrial district designation. The zoning district changed from PUDC, Commercial Plan Unit Development District, to the LI Limited Industrial District, or the most appropriate zoning district. The 2.53 acre undeveloped parcel is located on the southeast corner at the intersection of Southwest Jack James Drive and Southwest Canner Highway in Stewart. A detailed analysis has been provided in the staff report demonstrating staff's compliance findings. Here you can see the location of the site, as previously mentioned, on the south side of Southwest Canner Highway in between I-95 and the Turnpike. And here's an aerial photograph of the subject site. You have the existing concrete batch plant to the east and existing gas station convenience store to the west. Here you can see the subject site on the zoning atlas map with the majority of the surrounding properties already being rezoned to Category A industrial zoning districts. And here's the future land use map showing the surrounding properties, all with the future land use of industrial. The subject site was originally part of the Stewart 95 PUD established in 1992, of which the only part that was developed was a neighboring gas station. The PUD agreement has expired and the Property Owners Association is dissolved, so this rezoning is considered mandatory. The three available zoning districts to implement the industrial future land use policies are LI Limited Industrial, GI General Industrial, and HI Heavy Industrial. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property to LI Limited Industrial, which permits the least intensive of the industrial uses. And here are the development standards for the three Category A industrial zoning districts. The application was considered by the local planning agency on May 6th, where they voted unanimously for a recommendation of approval. Staff recommends that the requested LI Limited Industrial District is an appropriate zoning district with respect to the application of the goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan and the LDRs and county codes. So with that, I move that the board receive and file the agenda item summary and all its attachments, including the staff report for the record as Exhibit 1. Move that the board approve the request to amend the Martin County Zoning Atlas to change the zoning district on the subject property from PUDC Commercial Plan Unit Development District to the LI Limited Industrial District or the most appropriate zoning district, and adopt the resolution of approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, if there is no public hearing or when you ask for it, I would move approval.
Second.
Okay, we don't have any other presentation. And is there anybody wishing to, do you have a does the applicant have, okay. The applicant's present but no presentation. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving on to departmental number 1, Office of Management and Budget items which require board approval. Hi, how you doing, Stephanie?
Good morning, Stephanie Murley, Budget Financial Manager for the Office of Management and Budget, here for Jen Manning. So I'll just go through real quick, and if you have any questions, feel free. The first one up is the permission to apply for the Florida Department of State Division of Historical Resources grant. This is for the House of Refuge to replace the Cedar Shake roof. The grant awards for $250,000 with a grant match of $250,000. And the recommendation is the board authorize the admin department to apply for such grant. The second is a permission to accept the FEMA money for Hurricane Isaias. It's a grant award of $2,954 with a local share of $492 for evacuation and sheltering efforts as a result of the hurricane. The third one is a permission to accept the U.S. EPA grant for addressing coral reef health in the amount of $308,000. This is for the health of the Indian River Lagoon. The cost to Martin County would be $60,000 over a 2-year period match. The next one up is a permission to accept the Indian River Lagoon Water Quality Improvement Project for the Old Palm City Vacuum Sewer System Project. The grant award is for $2.5 million, and I believe Sam Amerson wanted to talk a little bit about that grant. No problem.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Sam Amerson, Utilities Department Director. I just want to take a brief moment to acknowledge some people on staff. But first of all, I wanted to thank the board and the county administration. Without your support, this program would be dead in the water, literally. It struggled for several years, as you recall. And without your support, without some financial assistance, allowing us to obtain and apply for grants, we wouldn't be where we are. We're doing very well. We're getting a lot of connections on the septic, on the grinder sewers, as well as the vacuum systems. But I come up and I present items to you. You don't see our staff generally, but I'm not the one doing all the work. I want to acknowledge them and introduce them to you, if I may. We have Jeremy Covey as our, come on up, folks. Jeremy Covey is our Technical Services Administrator in charge of the engineering department. We have Leo Rapetti. You may recognize some of the names. Leo's our project engineer.
That's really cool. We still have an engineering department?
We do.
Awesome. I really
Yes,
like
it's
that.
located in the utilities department, just for clarification. We have Phil Keithley, our senior project manager, and Dave Duncan. Dave is one of our more recent hires from the city of Stewart. He's 100% full-time on grinder sewer. And you'll also recognize Vince Matanti. Vince transferred over from General Services Department. He's doing an outstanding job as a project manager. He's in the field about 98%, dealing with customers and contractors. So these are the guys and girls doing the work. And I have from customer service, Marlon Frostrom. And she manages a lot of the grinder agreements that come through. And also wanted to thank her as well. She's doing an outstanding job keeping the flow going.
Nice. That was nice to work that.
And real quick, you amended the agreement with the Solar and Energy Loan Fund of St. Lucie County less than a year ago, and we've got 44 customers that have utilized that so far, providing over $300,000 in financial assistance.
It's awesome.
So thank you all very much.
That's fantastic. And just reiterating, during our Indian River Lagoon Council, you know, of all of the counties that are present on that board, the other commissioners and colleagues spoke very highly of Martin County's program. So thank you for the work you're doing. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
Next up is a request for a budget transfer from Technology Improvement Plan reserves. This is to keep Martin County's business application operational, and disks need to be added to flash pool aggregates. I'm unsure what that means, but if Mike Berger's here, he could probably explain that to you. Okay. The next one's a budget resolution to allocate funding for underage drinking prevention programs. The Human Services has been issued a one-time stipend check for $750 to provide education to the youth in Martin County to increase underage drinking prevention efforts in the county. The next one is a budget resolution and CIP modification request from utilities to amend the Connect to Protect grinder installation project. We've accepted some additional revenues in the amount of $500,000, and we need to allocate those funds to continue working on this project. And the last one is a budget transfer and CIP modification request from utilities for the lift station's rehabilitation sheet. They would like to transfer $400,000 from capital reserves to continue working through this year. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, Stephanie went past Mike Merker real quick, and I thought that just gave me an opportunity to suggest something at the Regional Planning Council last Friday when we were getting an update on the American Recovery Act monies and where they had gone. Indian River County, St. Lucie County, Martin County, and Palm Beach County all gave their updates. George did a great job, by the way. Palm Beach County, Mike, has apparently accomplished or done some really unique stuff with broadband and wireless. And I asked them to put that program together to come present to us at the Regional Planning Council next meeting. Have you heard about that or what they did down there? Apparently they kind of, I wouldn't say they bypassed the issues that we deal with getting broadband to rural parts of our community, but they went with Wi-Fi, and they went with solar-powered Wi-Fi. And FPL partnered with them to donate poles and locations and whatnot to expand that capacity. I forget if it was 3 or 4 million they took out of their recovery money and put towards that program, but they also linked it to children in the school system that lived in rural parts of Palm Beach County that didn't have access via internet or via hard-wired capacity. And so it'll be interesting to see how they actually packaged that whole product, but it was really super cool. And they did it under the guise that they're providing students that didn't have access in rural. So my guess is there are a lot of other people that are surrounding those students that aren't students that now have access to Wi-Fi that would otherwise not have access to the internet. So just you were brought up in the agenda and took full advantage of, hey, Mike Merker's got an agenda item, so why not say something? So anyway, you might want to reach out to them and see if we can't get a presentation at some point as to exactly what they did and how they did it, because that may solve some of Commissioner Campy's issues out in Palm City and other parts of the community where we don't have access.
For the record, Mike Merker, Chief Information Officer for the county. Thank you, Commissioner Smith. I just heard about that program recently, and Mr. Stokas and I have an intention to reach out to Palm Beach County to find out exactly what they did, and because they seem to be able to have utilized funding for underprivileged school children as part of that funding mechanism, as well as found a way to provide access that doesn't violate any of the state statutes. So we fully intend to pursue that.
Super cool. Thank you very much.
Great.
Sorry, Stephanie, for sort of adding to your agenda item.
Thank you. And that, back to the board, and we need a motion to
Approval.
approve that. Motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Our next item this morning is departmental number 2, contracts that meet the threshold for board approval, $1 million or greater, presented by Christy Brotherton. And Christy, I'm going to separate out, there's 8 items. Number 7, on this item. So if you want to do the other, skip that item 7. I'll be recusing myself for item number 7. I'm an employee of Ferrera Construction, which is one of the companies that bid on it. I'll be abstaining. I've turned in my Form 8B, and they are one of the 6 contractors that were recommended for award on that. So we'll do items, all the items except for 7 right now.
Christy Brotherton, Purchasing Manager. The first contract award for your consideration today is for the Martin County Fire Rescue Station number 14. Staff is recommending that we award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is the Morganti Group, for the base bid only in the amount of $4,357,000, and that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. Item number 2 is a contract award for the Martin County Fire Rescue Station number 18. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Hedrick Brothers Construction, for the base bid only in the amount of $4,160,790.56, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. The next contract is for Disaster Recovery Engineering. This is a continuing services contract with a maximum not to exceed value of $5 million with a maximum not to exceed contract term of 5 years. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the following 3 firms, which is Captech Engineering, Culpeper and Turpinning, and LeConte Engineering. Also, that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. Next, we have our disaster debris monitoring contract. There is a typo. That should be an RFP, not RFQ. This is also a continuing services contract with a maximum not to exceed value of $3 million with a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the following 2 firms, which is Landfall Strategies as the primary vendor and Tetra Tech as secondary vendor, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. Next, we have our disaster-related debris removal contract. Again, that should be an RFP, not RFQ. Continuing services contract as well for a maximum not to exceed value of $25 million with a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending that the contract be awarded to the following 2 firms, which is Ashbrit Environmental as the primary vendor, Ceres, I believe is how it's pronounced, Environmental, for secondary vendor, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. Next, we have disaster recovery and resiliency. Again, that should be an RFP, not an RFQ. Also, a continuing services contract with a maximum not to exceed value of $3 million and a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending contract award to the following 2 firms, which is LeConte Engineering as primary and Integrated Solutions Consulting as secondary. Move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. We are going to bypass number 7 and come back to that. And next we have a request to increase our contract not to exceed value for our electrical services contract. This is a continuing services contract. We've struggled a little bit with this one. We changed the way that we were doing the bid. We changed it from an RFB, which was based on price alone, to an RFP so we could get some more qualifications based components to that. Unfortunately, the intent of the contract was to have a pool of vendors. We've only received 1 responsive bidder each time. So we are going to redo the contract documents, try to go out for a 3rd time. So the additional request is to increase the contract values so we don't have a disruption in services while we go through that rebid process. And That looks like it is it for those.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
So if you ask for public, 2 comments after public, if there's anybody from public.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to comment on any of these items? Okay. Commissioner Smith.
So 2 comments. Taryn, would this be on Station 14 if I wanted to add funds to the design of the base bid where I would do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so commissioners, there's a secondary portion of Station 14 that I asked staff to rebid, or not rebid, to add into the design criteria. It's approximately $200,000 more. It's something I think would be really worth doing. It'll make it architecturally a little bit different than our other stations, but I think it'd be a really great improvement. So I'm willing to do that out of my district.
Christy, which one was that? The
14.
This is
no, I know.
number 1.
Number 1. So it'd be the alternative. Number 1, alternate.
So you're wishing to add all.
And I'll fund that out of my district.
Okay.
The second comment, we have in this portion of our approvals, Ashburt was was one of the bidders, correct?
Correct.
We go down to item 6 or whichever.
No.
No, we're down there somewhere.
Next one down.
Keep on going.
5? Okay, we're getting
They're
there.
the primary.
There we go.
Just a side commentary to all that. A really good friend of Martin County's that was significantly supportive of our former legislator, Kristen Jacobs, who passed away 2 years ago. That was really our champion for our coral reef program in the legislature. Has joined their firm. Well, she didn't obviously, but Holly Rashine, who was a state legislator with Kristen, working on coral reef forests, just really super supportive, has joined them, and I think it's great that that's been an addition to their business, and just want to kind of call her out and tell her thank you for all her years of service for us. And all the work that she did at the legislature. And Senator Pruitt's in the back. I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the things that Senator Pruitt worked for us over the years as Senate President, Appropriations Chair through the years, House Member for years, and all the other things that Ken worked on, not to mention probably single-handedly, if it hadn't been for Ken, we wouldn't have the Veterans Memorial Bridge. So Ken, thank you for all your efforts and work. And it's always good to see you in the audience. Thanks. Move approval. Did we move approval of all of them?
No, we didn't.
I'll move approval of all the rest of the items.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Smith for all of the items, with the exception of 7. And we have a second by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Do you want me to run 7 or no?
I can run it. I just will recuse myself from the vote.
She can open it.
Yep.
She
Yes, we already opened the item.
announced her conflict and that she won't be participating, and then she'll do her other script.
Okay, ready?
I think I already did my script, but
You have to do it right before the vote.
okay.
Okay, item 8.
Go ahead and introduce item 7.
Okay, this is for our infrastructure, construction, and maintenance contract. This is a continuing services contract with a maximum not to exceed value of $30 million with a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending contract award to the following 6 responsive and responsible bidders, which is Coastal Land Development of Martin County, C.W. Roberts Contracting, Ferreira Construction Southern Division, Hinterland Group, Johnson Davis, and Sunshine Land Design, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute any and all documents related to this request. And that concludes this item.
Okay. For a matter of this item, I'm an employee of Ferrer Construction, one of the companies that bid on this item. I will be abstaining from the vote. I've filed my Form 8B and will be recusing myself.
Madam Chair, move approval of item 7.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Hetherington abstaining. Okay. And Senator Pruitt, I wanted to say welcome as well, and it's always nice to see you here in the chambers. Okay, our last item of the day is departmental number 3, discuss the latest request from the Village of Indiantown for additional American Recovery Plan Act funding.
Yes, Commissioners, thank you. Taryn Krista for the record. So when staff started this initial dialogue and what the county could possibly consider to offer the Village of Indiantown as a grant that could be designated to improve their flyer flow services to their utilities, that would enhance our ability to provide fire and rescue services to those residents or businesses, and particularly the industrial areas, as well as looking at our property that the fairgrounds is looking as a future site. So our thought process for having the funding predicated on a 5-year interlocal agreement was really for the village to remain in the county's fire rescue MSTU was based upon our 5-year capital improvement plan and a planning process. As the county knows that currently we have some planned developments in the western area. And so we're actively pursuing our possible expansion of fire rescue services to serve those areas that we know are either in the pipeline or have come forward. So the county has proposed the $1.5 million grant as a 50-50 match to be put toward a project that the village identified to complete what they call to their loop system, and which would enhance the utility services that they would provide in the future. So the village manager has sent me a letter dated May 17th with 4 items that they were proposing. One was they have put the dollar amount at $2.5 million to be paid up front in a one-time payment in exchange for that 5-year commitment for the village to remain in the fire rescue MSTU. They also asked for monthly reporting of calls to the area from data that is readily available. They also wanted quarterly reporting from fire rescue to the village on those fire rescue related activities within the village. And they wanted to revise the deed restrictions on Booker Park and Big Mound Park properties to be less restrictive. The deed currently has restrictions on there for the properties relative to recreational and public use. So the $1.5 million amount that staff proposed was based upon population and how that population compares to the county overall. Increasing that dollar amount, in staff's opinion, would put a impact on those ARP funds that are planned for throughout the county to benefit all residents and businesses within the county. The deed restrictions, legal is currently evaluating, and we're not really sure until we can have a better definition of what the intent is for those funds to be able to render a opinion, if you will, on whether or not we can meet their needs. So the staff recommendation is that the board would just have the one-time ARP funding allotment of $1.5 million to be used toward the fire inflow improvements in exchange for their commitment of a 5-year participation. And then we can look and evaluate and prepare a proposed deed changes, if we can do that, for the buildings only that are located on Big Mound and Booker Park sites. And that you would direct me to coordinate with the village manager future reporting and quarterly updates, which fire rescue, quite frankly, welcomes. We don't believe that that's an undue hardship on staff. We believe that we can provide it, recognizing that Station 24 services not only within the municipality boundaries, but outside as well. So right now, staff would ask that you approve our recommendation or provide us with additional direction based on the latest. I will add that yesterday the agenda for Indiantown came out, and on their agenda is an item that the village manager prepared with the same date of May 17th that is asking for an additional position to be a fire services coordinator for there, and the job description is pretty clear that that individual is going to be starting the process for creating their own fire department. And it's going Thursday at their Thursday meeting, which is the 27th.
I know.
Okay. Commissioner Hearn.
Yeah, for starters, I remember when we decided to donate the deeds for Big Mound and Booker Park sites, that we were adamant that those would remain for public use, for recreational use. And so what kind of changes are they proposing that would deviate from that? Because I'm adamant that those uses have to remain for the public.
It's very difficult for me to answer that directly because they've been less than definitive about what they wanted to do. I will say I completely agree with you, Commissioner Hurd, and I pointed out to their village manager and the village attorney that their current council members agreed in an interlocal agreement that those particular properties would be used as parks, as recreational facilities, because they're deeply integral to the surrounding communities, and you all talked about that. The change, proposing a change which was initially done to public use, I'm not sure what that means. I'll be honest, it's a very, very broad and very different from what you all agreed with the council members. So that's why in the agenda item, I haven't been able to get anything definitive about what they would do with the building and the surrounding property. My request to them was that if they were going to apply for state grants or something to do something to the buildings, that certainly you'd be glad to talk about it if they could give you specifics, but that without specifics, it really goes against you all's intent and their agreement with your intent that it be used for public purpose. I hope that helps you. I can't really answer what it is.
No, in the manager's letter on page 3, he references that the buildings in existence on Booker Park property and Big Mound property may also be used as a civic center, event center, community center, meeting room, municipal services annex, emergency operations center, and hurricane shelters.
And I would add, I'm not aware of how you have a building use that's different from the underlying property. So it was a little bit confusing to county staff about what exactly they were asking for. And I did reiterate that the board wanted to be sure that the property was used for recreational purposes, that it was a park. Thanks.
And also, the county is constrained by law from by proportions, from discounting services for one part of the county and not discounting services to another. In other words, unincorporated cannot subsidize incorporated municipalities. So their Indiantown's percentage of the population is 4.4%. And if we take the amount of monies that we are anticipating, we're not receiving, and we're not going to get a lump sum in 1 year. We're going to get it over 2 years, and we're estimating right now what that figure is going to be. But our best estimates would say that 4.4% of that grant will be $1.375 million. So we are legally constrained from giving anyone a bigger increment than that. So their request is for 2.5.
Yes, ma'am.
And they're receiving their own stimulus money, are they not?
Yes, they are. What our initial estimates is a little over 1.3 million.
Yeah, I have lots of difficulties with this request. That's all.
Commissioner Jenkins.
I can't shed any more light on the specificity of their deed restriction issue, other than the fact that, in talking to a couple of council members, that they're being told that with the current language that we have in that deed restriction, they're not able to acquire some grants to harden those structures, which I don't have if there's some minor tweak to the language that would allow them to get a grant to improve and harden the building. That doesn't bother me, but I don't understand why we can't get anything more specific from them of.
Correct. And Commissioner Jenkins, we did in conversations with both the village manager and the village attorney indicate that we would be happy to coordinate with them if they were applying for grants, to coordinate with whatever granting agency they wanted to apply for, that we'd be happy to amend anything that granting agency agreed to, and they didn't seem amenable to that. They wanted it done ahead of time, not at that point. But we made that offer. Yes, sir.
Okay. So back to the financial part of it, to reiterate our position, and it seemed like our last conversation was the 1.5 was justified by increasing our own, if we're going to provide fire service, is to better provide our fire service, was our justification to the rest of our unincorporated Martin County people. Going beyond that is something that I'm not willing to do. Talking to some of my constituents after our last meeting that had a little bit of an issue with, once I kind of explained it a little bit further, it was completely justified. Now that they've asked over that, talking to my constituents, they have a problem with that. So I'm firmly where we were last time, and you know, the reporting thing is obviously a no-brainer. You know, coming up with some language for them to get grants for the buildings doable, but I don't know. And then now advertising for a position, it seems like if we gave them fire rescue, they wouldn't take it at this point. So I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
So I guess what's of interest, what we offered last time is still what we're offering?
Well, I mean, I haven't heard otherwise. The board has not the board gave me direction to make that offer.
I understand. So we haven't, I mean, from what I'm hearing, nobody's really suggesting anything further than where we were last time. I don't know that we even need to make a motion to offer anything. What we offered is what we've offered.
Okay.
From my perspective, and hearing Harold reiterate from what his residents or our residents have confirmed, or at least understand what exists, I think we leave it as is, and if they've moved forward to hire an individual that would head their fire rescue efforts or whatever, good for them, you know. But again, I keep taking the sort of same position. If that's their intent, best wishes, and we're here if need be, if things don't work out the way that they anticipate them working.
Okay.
That's just my perspective.
Yep, I would agree with what all of my colleagues have said this morning, so no need to reiterate it. So you have appropriate direction that we're where we were the last time we discussed this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, with that, that completes our agenda. We're going to take public comment. Is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to comment? No? Okay. And commissioners. Commissioner Hurd.
I'm set.
Commissioner Canby. Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Jenkins.
I'm good, except we all need to sign this for relief. So.
Okay. Ms. Grizza or Ms. Woods?
I just wanted to circle back around with the board. So next month, you've got two meetings, June 8th and then the 22nd. Is that right?
Yes.
So June 8th, we were planning on being our last meeting to offer Zoom. It seems that the participation, but Commissioner Hetherington has asked that request, so she would like to participate that way, which is great. But so I'm sorry, you've done an excellent job, but I didn't want you to find out at the last minute. So we'll start migrating off of that for the June 22nd meeting.
Okay, great. And our upcoming meetings are June 8th and 22nd, regular meetings, and the June 24th meeting will be a joint meeting with the City School and Village of Indiantown. And with that, we are adjourned.